live on the Giro d'Italia, going through beautiful countryside again today. On our way down to Vittorio Veneto. At the moment, the sun is shining. We have a forecast of cloud with possible bits of rain. We're hoping, as always, that that does stay away. 26 riders have stayed away at the moment. There's a break out there, 7 minutes and 25. Marco Fraporti had been left behind and Andron Giocattoli had missed the break. He seemed to get in behind the team cars on the way there. He did so, and of course has managed to make the break. Neri Sottoli haven't, so they'll be the team we expect to do a bit of the chasing with, Movistar team, and perhaps even Française des Jeux for Nasser Bouhanni. But we will see how it goes on. In the meantime, as you're all expecting, it's time to cast our mind back in a very murky, muddy, confusing 24 hours to stage 16. Well, today, yes, it was polemic. Stage 16 produced so many different opinions. It produced a new Maglia Rosa, produced one of the performances in terms of climbing that we've seen in this Giro d'Italia, Nairo Quintana. But it's all about what happened on the descent. Was it neutralised? Wasn't it? There was a huge meeting this morning. Oleg Tinkov and the rest of the team owners, directeurs sportifs were there. What do they think about it? We shall see.
I was on the top because I climbed myself stealthy, and I saw Quintana attack clearly. He's like, ah, go out. I'm like, opa. And then Micah stopped, Rush stopped, they taken, and then they're like, what's going on? They're 2 minutes down. It's crazy.
What is the opinion of the other directors?
I don't know, they have to decide. I was not for the end because it's their business. I voiced my opinion. I said, guys, if you want this sport to be big, you have to change something, because the big money, the big sponsor would never come for this sport if you have this mess, because it's unbelievable. And of course, organization should be better, because no one understands about the flag neutralization. It's a mess. There should be a clear rule, like in Formula 1.
A clear rule like in Formula 1. Certainly, you can't decide that he's wrong there. But whatever's happened has happened. Bjarne Riis wasn't happy either. A lot of riders not happy. And Eusebio Ensue was doing his best to try and make some friends of Movistar. We heard what the Saxo boss thought about it. However, what did their riders think about it? Here's Mick Rogers.
So tell us, how was your experience of the...
Well, I mean, in my opinion, there's one simple solution.
I think it just highlights, as I said before, the need for clear rules with regards to extreme weather conditions. You know, this is not the first time it's happened in races, and I can understand. I can understand the team's anger. You know, a lot of teams have invested millions of euros into their teams to come to this race, and when it's just, you know, time's taken away like that, I can understand everyone's frustration, certainly.
There's no clear solution now, one day after.
Welcome to cycling.
A man who has had his brush with the cycling authorities this winter, perhaps being a little fed up with how things are organised. There have been statements, there's been all sorts going on today. A final meeting, there's Ensue chatting to Bjarne Riis. They're both trying to explain their points of view. We're told that we can expect a statement a little later on this afternoon. Of course, the organisers have had their say, the teams have had their say. What about the UCI? They were also represented here, as always, at the Giro d'Italia, and were there at the meeting. Here's Riccardo Scheindecker. He was speaking in Italian. Well, of course, we spoke with the race director and the representatives of the UCI. I'm the spokesman for all the teams with the AIGP, and I really want to speak with a unique and one voice in this case. Of course, I won't go into details, but before the end of the day, an official statement about possible sanctions and actions will take place. So we await that statement, and we await it with enthusiasm, because there has been so much confusion over the last 24 hours. It's been a bit like watching two films over the last day or so. The blazing Hollywood epic after the stage itself yesterday, then the cryptic European story of woven testimony and hidden stories afterwards, trying to figure out exactly who the goodies and the baddies were. So, Sean Kelly, you've had a night to sleep on it. We've had a discussion before we came on air. We've both been reading inches and inches and pages of newspapers. What was your view on yesterday?
Well, it was just total confusion, as we see and as we forecasted, and of course so difficult, first of all, to get the images of the event. When they came over the top of the climb, we didn't see really on the descent what was happening. There was so much confusion, and we heard, you know, Tinkoff talking there, guys stopping, putting on their rain jackets and putting on many layers, as we've been reading, and there was riders who put on up to 3 layers for the descent. Others, you know, just floated through and went on, and then just, you know, kept going. And some say they didn't hear it, others say seem to know about it. So it's just total confusion and a total mess.
Total confusion, total mess. We're going to go through this afternoon the actual statement that was made, statements from the riders, what happened yesterday, how the actual racing affected the race, and of course we have the race itself today. There are 89.5 kilometers to go until we get to Vittorio Veneto on the finish line today. Going through Fonzaso into Prosecco country today. Beautiful sunshine-filled hills today of the Veneto, northeastern Italy. 8 minutes and 23 at the moment. It certainly looks like being one for the break, and what a big break it is. Movistar at the front controlling things. They won't really want to reel things in, given that I can tell you the most dangerous man in the break of 26 riders is Damiano Cunego, but the former Giro winner isn't going to be close to winning it 10 years after he last did. 48 minutes and 50 seconds means that he isn't a danger, and the Maglia Rosa group, led by the new Maglia Rosa of Nairo Quintana and Movistar, are controlling things. 8 minutes and 34 at the minute. We're going to go off for a break. Back with all the debate in just a minute's time. Wouldn't be a Giro without debate, drama and confusion, would it? This, though, has gone the extra mile this year. We've had all sorts happening this morning. Meetings, discussions. Lampa are involved. They're involved in the breakaway with Damiano Cunego and Matteo Bono here. One of just 3 teams who actually have their full collection of riders still in the peloton. 160 started today on the 17th stage. We've lost 38 riders since Belfast. Some of the biggest names that went yesterday were Michele Scarponi, the man wearing number 1 on his back. Alessandro Petacchi. Hope that isn't the last time we see him at the Giro d'Italia. And Edvald Boasson-Hagen, who didn't start yesterday for Team Sky. A lot of controlling to be done by Movistar. Nairo Quintana's in the lead. Sean, one thing we cannot deny yesterday is that Quintana put in a climbing masterclass. He was absolutely wonderful. He took so much time on the climb, but I think the thing that people, certainly in other teams, are a little annoyed about is the almost 2-minute advantage he had a bit of a head start with.
Well, that's where the problem is, and that's where it all, you know, went wrong for a lot of the teams, because they went on the descent, and of course, again, we're back to that total confusion. And when he got to the climb, you could calculate roughly about 2 minutes, maybe a little bit less, but on the final climb, you know, he did some right. You have to hand it to him. You know, we see Pierre Long, 10 kilometers to go, he just to sit on because he knew that he wasn't in the shape to be able to hold on. And we see later Pierre Long got in difficulty himself and, you know, lost quite a bit of time to Quintana after, you know, riding so much in the valley, but on that final climb he just took it up and rode. And on the sections where it wasn't that steep, where it's difficult for Quintana, but he was so powerful yesterday and just put in a super ride. And of course he did pull away on the climb itself, but we have that little bit of confusion, and it's going to be always the talk now. If it came to the bottom of the climb, how much would he have taken out of the guys? He definitely would have come in fresher, because he would have been there with more teammates. He would have sat in that group, and then he would have attacked, you know, probably 10 or 15 kilometres out to pull out a big advantage from Rigoberto Urán. So it's all about the calculation now, and there's all sorts of calculations out there. But he did a big performance yesterday. But unfortunately, that's, you know, that confusion and that mess will continue on the race right to the very end.
Be one of those days where people said, I was there. Nairo Quintana also leads the overall young riders standing. 3 minutes and 28 from Rafael Michael. We saw he leads 1:41 from Uran in the pink jersey competition. Quintana, remember, he's still only 24. Yesterday was his third victory of the season. Hasn't won, though, since the Tour of San Luis back in January. Fabio Aru up there as well. 3 minutes and 34. Kelderman, who did a very, very good ride. But look at that, after the top four, we're 44 minutes back to Sebastian Henao in 5th place. Points competition. Well, it could have been, or it could have ended up being a big day for the points competition today. The break that is away possibly suggests that that's not the case now. Nasser Bouhanni with a lead, and he's hoping to hang on to that lead. I think he would have taken the fact that there's a break out there at the minute today. He's looking for another win in Trieste, or a good placing. Julian Arredondo certainly hasn't got the climbers' standings sewn up. Rifugio Panarotta tomorrow, Monte Grappa the day after the mountain time trial, and then after that, the might of Zoncolan. Long way to go in the King of the Mountains competition. How the team's getting on? Well, Agir Desert have been extremely strong this week for Domenico Pozzovivo, who's well inside the top 10. They're leading the team standings by time. Some good climbers in there with some good performances. The likes of Vouillamont and Daumont, alongside Hubert Dupont as well. Super team prize, well, stage wins and placings from Lampre. 2:52 ahead of 2:34 for Omega Pharma Quickstep. So just how did it all happen yesterday? Well, the organisers, let's say, didn't exactly cover themselves in glory, did they? First of all, many would suggest, I think, us including the commentary box, and I would say a good 90-odd% of professionals who were in the peloton questioned about it. 90-odd% of professionals who were sat on the sofa watching at home. They raced when it was too dangerous, perhaps should have changed the parkour. Then maybe they realised an error, put out a long-winded radio message 3 or 4 Ks from the top of the Stelvio saying that, to words to that effect, that they were going to neutralise the descent without actually saying the word neutralisation. The long-winded message is available on the internet if you wish to listen to it. Came out by Radio Cordoba. There was also a tweet sent out by the official at Giro d'Italia Twitter account, pardon me. Then that tweet was deleted, maybe, and a statement to save face last night. As Sean said before, it was a complete mess. Most riders stopping, putting jackets on, getting into cars. Quintana said that he didn't see any red flags. We've seen photos on the internet and lots of race reports as we see the new leader of the race here. He said he didn't see a red flag, but we've seen pictures of him behind a red flag. One of the drivers of the motorbike, Marco Velo, former cyclist, said that Quintana was actually asking him to go faster on the descent, gesturing him to go faster, and then he said he went past him. So somebody's not telling the truth in all of this, and you have to say, as well as the organisers, some of the directeurs sportifs surely have to take the blame for either not understanding a communique that was put out in Italian, French and English, or just failing to respect it.
Yes, well, it's a difficult one to put into action when you...
Well, we said that yesterday, didn't we? We said, how are they going to do this? Yes. Should they be doing it?
When the race is on at the top of a climb in such horrible weather conditions, with riders out in front, a breakaway, then the chasing group of main contenders, and some riders dropped out of that. It's so difficult to neutralise it. You just take... in a normal race, when there's a train crossing, and sometimes we see, well, there is a group out in front and they go through, and Paris-Roubaix is a perfect example. We see the riders coming there at that level crossing. It's happened so many times, and I've seen it myself when I was in there. Maybe a few riders out in front, but you're in the race behind, and it's really going, and you come to that level crossing. It's just impossible for the commissaires to stop the riders. They just won't stop. They want to go through because the adrenaline flow, and they're going. And the same situation yesterday. To really neutralise the descent, it was always going to be a major problem, a major task, and it's turned out to be a big problem. I think the problem was that going over the climbs yesterday was the big mistake, and they should have taken the alternative route, and it would have taken away all the problems we've got at this moment.
And it would have helped Nairo Quintana as well, because questions, perhaps some of them unfair, wouldn't be being asked of him as well now. We're off for a break, 81 Ks to go, gap almost at 10 minutes now. Mechanical for Domenico Pozzovivo back there. One of many heroes out there yesterday. I don't think there's any question that the episode 24 hours ago really created the winner. Quintana showed he had the legs that would have taken him to victory regardless as we go through Feltre today. However, I think there's a real legitimacy in certainly asking whether his margin of victory would have been as great. That leads to a rather unsavoury debate about how the errors and poor clarity of communication may have affected the fight for the pink jersey. Of course, Twitter, not an official communication method or medium for a race, but of course all the directors, sportives, everybody on the car in there, and they really shouldn't be tweeting things that seriously. And we've all heard the radio communication as well. It was certainly intended to suggest that there would be some sort of neutralisation without actually using that word. Rider down today, Adam Hansen. He's been attended to by the medics. Good to see him still in the Giro, still fighting. We want to finish all above everything today, will Adam Hansen. Of course, there has to be a way for everybody to move forward today, and we're expecting this statement a little later on, Sean. There's a rumour going round in the Spanish press, El País quoting teams want to take 55 seconds off of Quintana, or, quote, further action may well be taken. That's speculation at the minute, but expecting this statement later, if that is a bit of a flavour of what's to come tonight, then we're in for more ugly scenes when really the sport doesn't need it at the minute, does it?
No, and I don't think they will be agreed easily. The ones who got the advantage yesterday, you know, they are going to really fight their case and say, well, you know, we don't have to, you know, give up 53 seconds, 55 seconds, and you can be sure the ones who are out in front, like Quintana, Mobistar, Pierre Roland, Europe Car, they're all going to, you know, start stating their case. Garmin, Sharp, Heisdal, and it's going to be a discussion, you know, to get the happy media, and that's going to go on for a long time. And unfortunately, it is going to, you know, taint the stage a bit, and Quintana, of course, taking the jersey in that way, that's not the way he wanted to do it, and unfortunately, you know, he would have probably taken a lot of the time anyway, because as we mentioned in the LA Patra programme, if he had got to the climb, taken it a bit easier in a group, he would have probably, you know, climbed that final climb of the day much faster. But we'll have to wait and see what the outcome will be. I don't think, if they're talking about 50+ seconds to take away from the guys out in front, I don't think that would be too unfair, because they certainly had that advantage by going away. But again, you know, they had to get down the scent. They took the risk. If they weren't aware, which we're led to believe that they weren't aware, but again, we're seeing, you know, these red flags wear out. But it's always, you know, with bike riders, when they're out there on the road, and, you know, with the weather conditions, when you consider all you know, the problems that were out there yesterday, to neutralise it, it was always going to be an almost impossible task.
It was, and again, I think we have to lay the full blame, most of the blame at least, with the organisers for just a complete mismanagement of every single situation. The communication, the decision in the first place to race, then this silly decision to try and neutralise everything, which was something, as we said live on air yesterday, we didn't see how that would be possible. In the end, it wasn't possible. And another point, Rigoberto Urán in the pink jersey, I don't think should come off scot-free here, because if you're Rigoberto Urán, surely you do not lay your eyes off Nairo Quintana for a single second, no matter what's happening.
Well, that would be the normal, but again, if you're totally frozen at the top of the climb, and you know, there's we could see the confusion there. There were riders going left and right when they see their team helper or the team masseur. They just, you know, went left or went right, whatever case, whatever side the helper from the team was, and, you know, just trying to watch that alone with all the raincoats they had on already. It's, you know, so difficult to keep your eye on a rider, and when you have that confusion and when you have that cold as well, the first thing you think of, well, I'm going to have to get some, you know, more layers on, because I'm going to totally freeze up on this descent. Get dry, warm gloves, and that's what you think about. And you know, you forget a moment about the ones in the general classification. You just leave that out of your mind, and you're thinking about just getting through the descent coming up, and it was a long descent, 25 plus kilometres, and that is the problem. And of course as well, what information was relayed to some of the riders, you know, some were probably maybe understanding it, the descent was going to be neutralised, so then immediately you say, well, I don't have to worry about the descent now, I just, you know, worry about getting wrapped up well, getting the layers on, and try and insulate against the, you know, the very, very cold conditions there. And it's another part of the confusion.
Plenty of confusion, plenty of views we're getting, of course, on Twitter. Keep them coming in. We'll do our best to get through them.
But the organiser, I suppose, that's the other thing. You know, they want to try and do the climb. We've seen the past years they have so many problems, and you know they have to, you know, take out these big monument climbs, the climbs that, you know, everybody is looking forward to. And you know, when you take out the climbs, people, you know, the viewers and the real cycling followers, you know, they're very disappointed. So I think the organisers as well, you know, you have to give a little bit of credit to the organisers, because they wanted to try and you know, get the stage to be run normal and go over the big three, the two big climbs before the final climb of the day. But unfortunately, as we were talking yesterday, first thing, safety we were concerned, but at least we got through in that way. Nobody got injured, no bad crashes, but we have this confusion.
And this confusion, was it safe, wasn't it? Some of you think it was like it has been for years. Of course, in the modern era, it's nice to think about the safety of the riders. BMC, Daniel Oss in the break for them. Maglia Rosa group chasing behind, 10 minutes and 36 from 26 riders now. Run through the names quickly. Enrico Gasparotto is there, Matteo Montaguzzi, Marco Frapporti, who's the last to join in, drafting behind the cars to make it 26 men in the break after 25 had got out. Pirazzi Bohem on his home roads in Veneto. Marco Canola, stage winner the other day. 3 riders there, biggest representation for Bardiani, the team that have won 2 stages already on this Giro d'Italia. Jos van Emden for Belkin. Daniel Oss, who we mentioned, for BMC. For Lotto, we have Lars Yitting back, the Dane. Tim Wellens there as well. Matteo Bono and Damiano Cunego for Lampre Merida. Jussi Vaikkonen in the break alongside Johan Lebon. Oscar Gatto, very, very interesting name to watch for Cannondale. Igor Anton for Movistar. Thomas de Gent, Serge Pauls are the 2 Omega Pharma Quick-Step representatives. Davide Malacarne, again looking for a win. He's been thwarted on 2 occasions attacking so far in this Giro d'Italia, most cruelly by Peter Weening. Simon Geschke, second place on the stage that Mick Rogers won in Liguria. He's there for Gian Shimano. Fabio Fellini's there again for Trek Factory Racing, already attacking in this Giro. Evgeny Petrov, whose birthday it was the other day, alongside Jay McCarthy, Tinkoff Saxo representation. Philip Dijknen has given it yet another go for Team Sky, and Edward Voganov and Alberto Losada are the last 2 names in the break representing Team Katusha. Down through the River Piave. 10 minutes and 40 then. Sure, before we talk about the technical aspects and how good Nairo Quintana's ride was yesterday and the actual stage itself, once we've got past all the whispers and noises and sinister things going on, looks as though this break's got a fantastic chance of making it now.
Yes, when you look at the number of riders out there and general classification, nobody of any danger at all. And of course, again, we have Movistar just controlling it, you know, going up to 10:40 at the moment with 70 kilometres to go. It looks that it's for the breakaway, the stage victory, and it's going to be an exciting final because we have some difficult terrain, mountain classifications. We have 3 on the route today, but the final one, the Muro, the Poggio, which is, you know, a very steep one. I think it's 16%. It's very short, but it will cause problems for that big group because they are going to try and attack at that point, because it's 20 kilometres to the finish, so it's a perfect launching pad. And with that many riders, there's a lot of riders saying, well, if I go down to the end here, I cannot do anything in the sprint. I'm not fast enough, so they're going to try something on this real difficult steep climb. And it's going to be us between these riders out in front, certainly. Looking at the moment, I cannot see anybody taking it up at this time.
And there's some strong riders in this group. If you look at the names such as Gasparotto, Pirazzi for that Muro, Daniel Oss, Damiano Cunego, Geschke, Malacarne, de Gent, Oscar Gatto, Philip Dijknen will have a go as well, and Fellini. Well, it's almost a little bit of a hilly classic towards the end with that Muro, though. It's going to be very, very exciting indeed.
Yes, well, it's a difficult terrain. Not only the Muro, but it does go up and down a bit as we get towards the final as well. When we get in the very final, the last number of kilometres does get pretty flat. But there's a lot of little kick-ups before the final climb of the day as well. So we could see some action. And when you have a break of going out almost to 11 minutes at this moment, if it keeps on growing, well, then they will start attacking each other probably before ever we get to the Muro, because they will have enough advantages to start playing about. And the teams with numbers, again, that is an advantage. And Bardiani, 3 riders up there. What a Giro they're having. 2 stage victories already, and with 3 men the break, it shows that they're still in quite good shape. And after yesterday, a lot of riders, I think, are suffering from that cold and tiredness, non-recovery, all of that. But we still have a lot of riders and a lot of teams still very hungry for more stage victories, and other ones trying to get their first victory.
Andrea Amador there, the Costa Ricense. Yukiya Arashiro in his Japanese national champions jersey. A Team Europe car, of course, with Pierre Rolland, who was involved in that move yesterday. Everybody dressed in pink at the finale. Awaiting that grand finale indeed. Go through Prosecco country of Valdobbiadene, then into Vittorio Veneto itself. Maglia Rosa group. Nothing for them to worry about today. There's the pink jersey of Nairo Quintana. Gone for the pink shorts as well, pink bar tape. He obviously came extremely confident, knowing that they had a very good chance of wearing pink with the shorts already made. He's been relaxing, chatting to his Colombian compatriots from Team Colombia, and a couple from Neri Sottoli today. It's going to be a very, very interesting run-in. I haven't had too many stages where the breakaway has had success so far in this Giro d'Italia. A couple of times we've had it, it's been special riding. And with this group of 26 out there, it could well be the case again. And the gap just keeps continuing to extend. 69.4 kilometres to go, 10 minutes and 50. And as we said, there's nothing for them at all to really worry about. Damiano Cunego, closest man at 48 minutes and 50 seconds. We had a few riders missing the time cut yesterday, quite a few climbing off as well. 160 to the start today, 38 lost since we began in Belfast. And for certain teams, it's been absolutely brutal Giro. We mentioned the other day how it started for Orica Green Edge with all that success, but only 3 riders left for them, and only 3 teams, Sean, with a full complement of 9 riders now.
Yes, it's starting to really hit the teams, and a lot of the teams, yes, you really decimated numbers. 3 riders, as we say, Orica Green Edge, Neri Sottoli, of course. They have 4 riders in the race, so 4 for Garmin Sharp, of course, but we know Garmin Sharp, they had the problem at the beginning. But it's normal, I think. Sickness, crashes, fatigue, all of that. A lot of the teams just 1 rider out, and there's a lot of teams there with just 1 rider missing. So it's not surprising just to see only 3 teams with full amount of riders in the race at this moment.
.67 kilometres to go, 11 minutes and 1 second for our 26 leaders, working fantastically well, but it's fair to say that the chase isn't exactly on in the bunch behind. Now on stage 16, once the race continued down the road, Quintana did something so heroic that will be remembered for the rest of his career. A fine way to mark the first ever Giro win for him and his maiden Maglia Rosa. He was absolutely wonderful. Colombian riders now occupying 2 of the top positions in the general classification. They also hold 3 of the 4 prize jerseys. It's a Colombian Giro so far, as we started off in Australia. Certainly taking globalized cycling around the world now with success, and it's really good to see. Well, the cycling here in Italy, as I'm sure you're aware, we have tennis over in Paris. If you are a Roger Federer fan, then feel free to migrate to Eurosport 2. He is live currently in his 2nd round match at the French Open. But you don't want to do that. Here we are on Eurosport 1 with the Giro Stage 17. But of course, a reminder that Roland Garros on Eurosport 2. 10 minutes 45 then. It's a calm day in the peloton and a welcome one. Yesterday, though, saw another of those heroic days. Epic in the end on that final climb, and I think on the climb, Sean, it certainly provided fantastic entertainment. We saw good weather finally on that last climb, great scenery as well. And I think that the Giro organisers will be happy with that part of the race, and it's something that we'll revisit again because it produced a very, very good race. Cycling, certainly no sport for those who don't know how to suffer. Three hours into the ride, 65.8 kilometres to go. Yesterday's stage, the route was fantastic. Lots of snaky, cobra-like roads, as they were described, and that's how they were. 14% in places, decent crowd up there, and I think it's a crowd that we'll see again, won't it?
Yes, well, it's certainly fabulous racing. Unfortunately, the weather conditions wasn't kind at all, and if you had, a bit of sunshine there, it would have been, magnificent on our screens. But yeah, the fog and all of that, the rainy conditions killed all of that for us. But it's certainly, for a biker to ride over those climbs, and not only the guys in the race now, of course, the people watching, they want to ride these big climbs as they do in the other big tours as well. And the Gavia, all of those climbs, there's so many people that go and ride those, and I think it will be on a lot of people's menu later on the year. This time of year it's a little bit more difficult. We see the conditions yesterday so cold up there when you're not in the race, unless you can have somebody waiting for you at the top to wrap up a bit. But later in the year it would be just unbelievable place to ride bike and to go and do those climbs, and they are spectacular. They go on for so long, over 20 kilometres, and then the downhill, of course, 25 kilometres. That's what all bike riders love.
Well, apparently the Dolomite police are out after me, according to our good friend Daniel Freeb, renowned journalist and big writer of big mountain books. Just a few kilometres down the road is where the official mountain range of the Dolomite starts, despite the fact that the region of Val Martello is promoted by the Dolomite Tourist Board. So sorry about that, and hope I get away with 3 points and a fine. Val Martello, maybe a new idea for the book there, Daniel. Certainly, as Sean said, on many of our menus, I think, to go and have a ride. A beautiful climb, plenty of hairpins, and it produced one of the rides that we've seen in recent cycling history from Nairo Quintana. Once he was on the climb itself, it was absolutely superb. In the meantime, this is a mechanical front wheel puncture for Damiano Cunego. Giro d'Italia winner 2004, you can see 4 stages in his Giro d'Italia career. It was a first stage yesterday for Nairo Quintana. But of course, kudos for everybody who was out on the road yesterday. Fabio Aru poetically, beautifully put it in an interview afterwards and said that, well, every rider is a champion, from Quintana right to the last one over the line. It was that sort of day, a heroic day, an epic day. Cycling certainly no sport for those who don't know how to suffer on the bike, and having been there yourself, Sean, I'm sure you could have appreciated the effort and of course the performance in trying to follow that man Nairo Quintana. It was a real exhibition.
Yes, well, it was a real exhibition is the word, and it was spectacular seeing the way he was riding, and so far out. That's what I mentioned yesterday, that he took it up and had no choice. The situation he was in, he had to start riding a long way to the finish, and that is a real difficult thing to do for a climber, for a lightweight rider like Nairo Quintana, but he did it so well, and in the end just was still riding very, very strong. I think if he had been in a group coming to the final climb, he probably would have climbed a bit faster in the final. I think that effort earlier on took a bit out of him, but still he never really suffered anyway majorly, and just kept pushing on all the time. And it was a ride that deserves to win the Giro, but that's certainly not over yet, because if you look at the general classification and what we have to come, there's still possibilities where the general classification could change. But when you look at Quintana, the way he's riding at the moment, it's so difficult to dislodge him now. But the riders will try any occasion, any opportunity, and of course with the problems we had yesterday with the confusion. I think if there's, you know, a day where it's wet conditions, to some descents, the other riders will not, you know, miss an opportunity to go on the attack. So, you know, that's something you have to be really careful of as well. And Movistar will be careful in that way, because I think there's a lot of riders not happy losing out yesterday. They will try to get one back.
They'll be gunning to gang up on him in the final 3 mountain stages coming up. Starting tomorrow to Rifugio Panarotta. There's a man hoping to hang on to Trieste. We'll see how it goes over the next few days. A lot of mountains to go. Zoncolan is going to be particularly tough, you feel. Monte Grappa will probably see the biggest differences. Mountain time trial. Can Rigoberto Urán put in another good time trial, but this one will be firmly uphill. You've seen that he's shown a bit of a weakness in the mountains over the last few days. Today, though, it's all about that 26-man group that's up the front. A gap of well over 11.5 minutes with 63 k's to go. On our way to Vittorio Veneto today. Just under 62 kilometres to go. The gap all the way up to 12 minutes now. This group of 26 riders out in front looking very, very good. Some big names in here, certainly for the one-day events. Oscar Gatto being one of them. Enrico Gasparotto another. Frapporti's in there as well. Classics hunter from Androni. We've seen Pirazzi, Bohem riding at home. This is the peloton in the meantime chasing on behind. Who else is there? Daniel Oss, Damiano Cunego, Malacarne and Geschia. Fellini's a decent name in there as well. Lots and lots of people will be very, very interested. Ivan Basso right at the back. Now with 17 minutes down. Ricardo Zoidl there for Trek Factory Racing. Luca Guarcilena, another director sportif who had his say on events the other day. That's Enrico Gasparotto. Obviously just been back to the car, had a mechanical. Former Italian champion, and he's heading home. Friuli is where we're headed. Complete bike change in the end for Enrico Gasparotto. Gasparotto from the northeast of Italy, looking forward to finishing the Giro in his home region. Running for Astana, who lost Michele Scarponi yesterday. They had already lost Janez Brakovic a couple of weeks ago. So we talked about how good Quintana was yesterday. What about Ryder Hagedal, Sean? Really refound himself on yesterday's stage. Sort of went to hell and back, I think, with that ride. He was fighting and fighting. It was a real gutsy performance, hanging on, making his first proper performance, let's say, since confessing to his past misdemeanors.
Yes, well, he looked like he was in difficulty earlier on the final climb, but really, you know, dug deep and put in a great performance, because finishing, you know, just 8 seconds behind Quintana at the end, that is certainly a big ride as well. And you know, he's slowly working his way up the general classification, as Pierre Roland from Europcar also is doing. And you know, they really did a good job yesterday, you know, getting out of that group and pulling time back, because now in the general classification they're really in a good position. Roland, of course, he's been moving up. He's up at 4th now, and you know, it's all to fight for. Hagedal is at 9th place, and with the days to come, if they can keep on working as they have been, well, I think for Pierre Roland maybe a podium is possible. Hagedal possibly as well, if he can really put in a good number of days in the big mountain stages. It's certainly not over a place on the podium, but it looks more and more like the winner is going to be Quintana now, unless he has a real bad day or conditions. And yesterday the surprising one was the bad conditions, the cold weather. I thought he would suffer on that, because we all know the Colombians, they really perform at their best when it's, you know, sunshine. The warmer the better, but yesterday was a long ways off that, and he just performed as well as he can in the real good conditions when it's plus 30 degrees.
Well, certainly the only thing to say to that is that Quintana does come from a region of Colombia that is notably colder, certainly in the mountains, than where Rigoberto Urán comes from. But as you say, it's not quite the Dolomites, is it? It's not quite the rain, snow and horrible conditions of yesterday. This is where we are today, 148 kilometres into our stage, above 200 kilometres today. on our way through to the climb of Santo Stefano. And then that's the one that Sean was on about. Very, very big gradient on the final climb. It's extremely short, 1.2 kilometers, the Muro di Ca del Poggio. Who will take it on? How will they take it on? And will it be a launch pad for an attack 20 kilometers from the finale? Fran Mentoso and the rest of Movistar doing their job today. Movistar, good news for Quintana in those climbs if he does have an off day. They've got a full team, Sean, and we saw yesterday that they've got strength in numbers. They're very, very strong in the mountains.
Yes, well, I think we were forecasting that in the early part of the race. They have a real strong team. We could see him in the earlier medium mountain stages that, you know, they were very much looking after Quintana with numbers, and you know, it goes on. They're a team who have a lot of very good climbers, great gregarios, and they showed that yesterday, and a complete team as well. And that is important because, yeah, there's some teams in here with riders missing who I think if it wasn't for crashes and getting injured, they would be still here. But unfortunately, you know, that's the part of this race, and there have been quite a lot of that. But Movistar, they've got through well, and to be at this point with you know, complete team, it's a big advantage.
Marco Canola, who won that stage when the sprinters should have had the last lap at the end of it. Not had too much to shout about since then, as one of the Tinkoff Saxo riders stops to take an actual break. One presence at the Giro, one stage at the Giro. Special time for him, just his third year as pro. And just his third pro victory as well. Back to running bottles for his teammates in the break today, though. Pirazzi will certainly, if he's still there, try and have a go on that last Muro. And Nicola Boen, well, so much to ride for because he's riding in his home region. Of course, you're a man that used to ride so much on Irish roads towards the end of your career when cycling was massive in Ireland, and of course you had those excellent events there, Nissan Classic and the likes like that. How much does riding on your own roads, your own regional roads, give you that little bit extra?
Well, it certainly motivates you that bit more when you're in the when you're in your home ground, or if you're going to your region like the riders. And we see it so much of recent years as well in the big tours, in all the big tours. The guys are coming to the area where they come from, where they were born or where they're living, and they suddenly seem to get into the break on that day. And you know, that just doesn't happen easily. You have to really fight to do it, and you know, they have that extra motivation going out. And as we know in sport, in cycling, if you're really motivated, well, then you can do a lot more than you normally would. And you know, we've seen it on so many occasions. And it'll be interesting today again. You know, the guys that are coming to the area, will they be you know, up there in the final? And certainly, you know, when you're suffering the end fatigue and that is setting in, that motivation, you know, helps, and it can, you know, overcome, and possibly they can win, and we have seen them win stages in their home regions.
Adriano Malori, his first year at Movistar, done a lot of riding at the front on some of the climbs for them this year. Excellent time trial. They had that really unfortunate crash the day before the intermediate time trial. Valdobbiadene, famous for its Prosecco. Host of the national exhibition of Spumante, sparkling wine, as you can see. More recently, right in that square there, actually, is where Alessandro Patacchi won on the Giro d'Italia and took the pink jersey in 2009. Beautiful sunny day then. Remember that well, it was my first Giro, actually. Lovely day. I think he took the jersey off Mark Cavendish in the end. Great view from on the hills as well. Gasparotto back at the front, the only representative for Astana. They've already got a stage with Fabio Aru. He's 6th at the minute, 3 minutes and 34 back. And looking at everybody else yesterday with how they came in with the intermediate sprint coming up in Valdobbiadene, looking for winners and losers, it's really hard to describe, because you've got the first 3 or 4 places, and then from 3rd to 9th, you're all inside a minute. The fight for the podium is a big one, and the guy you have to worry about, despite the fact that he fought with pride, tenacity, dignity as always, is Cadel Evans, who seems to be sliding day by day at the minute.
Yes, well, he seems to be suffering majorly, and yesterday he did suffer on that final climb.
Who wouldn't have suffered?
Well, I think we see the way he was suffering. We had a very, you know, close-up shot of him, and it was certainly 8 or 9 kilometers from the finish, and he seemed to be totally empty. But you know, he just kept on fighting, and that's the style of rider he is. That's the way he always have been. And I think there was other riders there in the group you could see that didn't look as fatigued.
So here we go, intermediate sprint points coming up. Ozieting back and Tim Wellens there for Lotto Belisol. I've seen Wellens getting involved in plenty of the sprints earlier on when he's been out in the break on a couple of occasions. He's picked up King of the Mountains points as well. Rest of the break just rolling over. No problem for them.
Well, I think Lotto Belisol need a few pound in the pot, because they haven't been winning a lot here, and if you count back the number of fines they've had, I think they could be owing money at the end of the race if they do not just get up there and take any opportunity. And of course here I think it's €500 for the intermediate sprint for the first place over the line. They certainly are badly in need of it.
11 minutes and 46 is the gap, 56.1 kilometres to go. Better news for Lotto Belisol was that Andre Greipel is back, and he won a stage of the World Sports Classic at the weekend. Such a dry spring for them in terms of results. Bad spring with a busy infirmary as well. So the group has just reduced the deficit for the first time in quite a while. Underneath 12 minutes we go. Certainly no question about the break making it. Nobody else riding. Nelly Sottoli were one team who missed the break, but as our colleague Dan Lloyd pointed out, they've only got 4 riders to cover and chase those attacks now. It's not as if they could put the whole team to work on the front and bring this back, is there?
No, well, there's no question to put the team on the front, because when you're reduced to that number of riders. But again, you have to try and just get into the breakaway. When you look at 26 riders, even with a small number of riders in the team left, you should be able to get in if you're in shape, and that's always the question. If you have only 4 riders left, 5 riders left, well, unless there are 2 or 3 good ones, well, then it's going to be an impossible task. And I think there's a lot of teams with small number of riders left, and a lot of them are pretty cooked that are left.
Very tired indeed. It's about getting through to Trieste now. It's not going to be easy to get there, though. We're going to have some casualties in terms of at-a-time riders in the next few days. Rifugio Panarotta tomorrow. Monte Grappa mountain time trial is going to be very painful. And then the giant Monte Zoncolan, the ascent up to the Giro gods. Problems for Enrico Gasparotto again. We've seen him change his bike once. All the energy he's going to be losing. Gasparotto back on another bike, behind the cars again, and it's not something he wants to do, because he's a guy that you'd certainly think would have a decent chance at winning a stage like this today. We'll see how he does getting back anyway. We'll go for a quick break. Frances de Jure getting involved in the break means that they don't have to chase for Nasser Bouhanni. Means that none of the other sprinters have got involved. It was a very fast start today. Red flags today. We don't want to see any more of them. No question about what they mean there. And of course, whenever we come to this northern region, the Giro pays homage to the Alpini, Alpine division of the Italian armed forces that defended the country in the war. 11 minutes and 52 for the 26-man break. 3 Bardiani riders in the break, and who will bet against them securing a 3rd stage win. And as Sean was just pointing out to me in the break, the only man in this break who's won a stage is Marco Canola.
Yes, and with 3 riders from Bardiani in the break, it's going to be an interesting one. If they're feeling good at the end of the stage, and they are very competitive when they will start the attacks, then it's a big advantage to have 3 riders up there. And possibly Marco Canola, he could take his 2nd victory here. We did see when he won his stage, he is a rider that very tactically very good, and it's going to be a little bit of a tactic today, I think, with the advantage they have at the moment. Unless they really go about on the climbs, they attack each other big time, and that's where it could break up. But if it goes down to on the flatter sections and there's going to be a lot of attacks, well, experience is an important thing, and sometimes it can be very important with a big group of 26 riders in the breakaway.
Damiano Cunego there comes through. Evgeny Petrov, former Giro stage winner himself. was talking about this Giro in reference to Canola and Bardiani. Mechanical problems all over the road. There's no panic really in the peloton today. They're just having a quiet, nice day. And I think surely it'll be quite a relief to everybody, won't it? Just get on the bike, pedal, not do too much talking or let the officials do much talking. Everybody can have a chat themselves and calm things down, make some friends again maybe if it's possible, and rest up after yesterday.
Yes, I think everybody is majorly important, although the start was very, very fast because of the stage and the breakaway, the possibility of it going all the way to the finish. And it's always the case, we've seen it, you know, a lot of times where it's very, very aggressive in the early part of the stage, but once the break is formed, then it settles down, and we have seen that from the time we've been on air. The peloton is just rolling along, and a lot of discussion going on. You could see in the peloton there, riders having discussion. You can be guaranteed it's all about yesterday, and you know what the problems they had and what was relayed to them from the director sportif, and so and so and so and so. But the weather conditions as well, they were very happy. The warmer conditions today after yesterday. If you have to continue on the real cold, wet conditions, it's certainly not nice. But a relaxed day, good weather conditions, and rolling along at this pace for a big part of the stage. There will so many riders love that part of the day.
Even time to pop in and have a glass of Prosecco, I think. It's that calm out there at the minute. 50 kilometres to go. And there's the proof. 11 minutes and 23. Bardiani rolling on the front of the breakaway, and this is the breakaway. 26 riders in there. Gasparotto, Montaguti, Frapporti, Pirazzi, Bohem, Canola, Van Emden, Os, Wellens, Bach, Bono, Cunego, Vaikkonen, Le Bon, Gatto, Anton, De Gent, Pauwels, Malacarne, Geske, McCarthy, Feline, Petrov, Daignan, Vorganov and Losada. I think that's everybody. Big group out there. What's the difference if you as a rider are riding in this sort of group as to in a 2 or 3 man group? Apart from the obvious workload, is the attitude different? You think, of course, a lot of teams have more than one rider in here. Do you start to think about different things tactically?
Well, I think, first of all, the situation, when you get into the breakaway, you realise pretty quickly that it's a good one, because there's nobody dangerous in general classification, and we did, you know, look at that, and Cunego was the best one, which is at 48 minutes. So that is, you know, the recipe for the breakaway to be allowed away. Then the next thing is the teams that have missed it. You know, is there some teams back there will start chasing, but you have to just keep on riding and get your advantage and then see. And as they have seen in this big breakaway, nobody, you know, interested in chasing it down, nobody not happy with the situation. And now we can see out front of the breakaway, they're just rolling along there with the advantage they have got, 11:27, and you're just trying to conserve as much energy as possible, and that's what they're all trying to do here. But you know, the teams with the 3 men in the breakaway, or you know, 2 men in the breakaway, well, then that is a great advantage, because you know that when they start attacking, you can, you know, use different men to go in the attack each time, so it makes it much easier, and it gives you that bit morale as well, because you say to yourself, well, you know, with 2 men or with 3 men, we have a great chance of ending up one of us in the final split, and there will have to be a split here with 26 riders. It will be a miracle if they all go to the finish and contest the sprint today.
Well, there's a couple of little lumps and bumps that are going to be launch pads for that split. We have the first climb to Santo Stefano coming up very soon as well. 2.8 kilometers long, maximum of 13%, 5% average. But then the big one in terms of the gradient, very, very short, just 1.2 kilometers long, very much like a classic Smur, and it's got its name from that, the Muro di Ca del Poggio. 12.2% average, 18% max. And we talked to Prosecco, day off work there, the right way as well in this sort of weather.
On stage,
Will Nairo Quintana be on stage on Sunday? That is the question. Again, big job from Fran Ventoso. Influential as the captain of this team so far. Movistar have the responsibility of riding, but you can see the rhythm is not high. It was an extremely difficult first hour and a half or so. Average was over 50 kilometers per hour. I take into account that a lot of that was downhill as well, but there's still a big fight to get in the breakaway. Nobody let anybody go. Had to find that right composition. There's the main square in Valdobbiadene. We talked about Pataki being the main man there a few years ago. He climbed off yesterday. Struggling to hack the conditions, of course, it got to even the best. 3.5 hours in the saddle here, 47.8 kilometers to go. Frapporti on the left-hand side. Came to the breakaway late. Androni realizing they'd missed it. Average race speed, 45.752 kilometers per hour. That's after 3.5 hours. 11 minutes and 19 seconds. Friends of Diego Lisi there. Hear them chanting his name. And again, just an indication of how relaxed it is out there in the peloton. These guys have got other things on their mind. Stage win being the main. Enrico Gasparotto. Well, he would love a stage win in this area of Italy. Going into his own Friuli, Venezia, Giulia region. Eduard Vorganov in a few breaks as well. Katusha, one of those teams looking for something. They've tried with Dani Moreno, they've had awful luck with Vicioso, Caruso and Rodriguez. And they're looking for something here. A lot of teams as well. It's getting that stage of the race now, Sean, where, as you can see, the pace being fairly high downhill. It's getting that stage of the race where we start to think, right, you've got something out of this. This team's got nothing. All these could do with a win. I think a lot of teams will be doing that themselves, won't they, towards the end of this Giro as well?
Yes, well, the teams that haven't got anything out of the race are really, hungry, and the Director Sportives guarantee they will be really pushing them and, trying to get a stage victory and to make the race for them. And yeah, that is the difficult thing when you're in the breakaway. If you're a lone rider or if you have a teammate or more than one teammate with you, you're going to be under pressure in the end, because this is the final opportunity for a lot of riders and a lot of teams to win a stage in this year's Giro. And that creates pressure. First of all, when you haven't won a stage, there's always that pressure there to be in the breakaway. But then when you're in the breakaway and you get into the final as well, the Director Sportif, he give you a bit of the butterflies because he's on to you so much via your earpiece. And the riders and teams that have won, they're a bit more relaxed, and sometimes that is the easiest way to win stages, because a lot of riders, they get a bit too nervous in the end, and then that's when they make mistakes. But if you look at this group of riders, 26, there's so many riders capable of winning here, and it depends on where, when the race really opens up out front and when they start attacking each other. If it goes on the steep part of the climbs we have coming up, well then, you could pick out riders, but if it goes on the flatter section, well then that's going to be a difficult one. And a guy like Bach, if he gets into the final, the flat, well, he is going to be very, very hungry to try and get a stage victory. And as you mentioned, Lotto Belisol, haven't got a lot out of this race.
It's the last kilometre. I can tell you it was sunny when this was filmed. Unfortunately, it's just started to rain at the finish line. So once again, whoever wins the stage is very likely going to have to deal with inclement weather. It's been that way this Giro d'Italia. Nice run in. Certainly into the last few hundred metres. Who will be there? How many will be there? And as Sean said, it's very unlikely to be the whole 26-man group. That Muro Cader Poggio is going to be very, very important indeed. Well, he has gone for the full pink look as Nairo Quintana. You a fan of that, or a traditional black shorts man?
Well, I think it's the kit of recent years where they do the full kit for the riders. It looks well, and it's amazing the way they can turn around, get a kit made overnight, the shorts and everything with the colours. But
I think they came here confident if they came with pink shorts. Stock. Surely that was put on order a few months ago. Now then, first little test maybe from Tim Wellens. I know that he wants more King of the Mountains points. He's been out there before to get them. King of the Mountains still led at the minute by our Colombian rider, Julian Arredondo. Plenty of encouragement for Tim Wellens. I don't think there's anybody too bothered about trying to stop him getting these points as well. Wellens actually fourth at the moment. 57 points. Arredondo leads with 95 points. But of course, for these fourth category climbs, you only get 3 points for going across first. Every little helps, as they say. And if he can get himself into a break, Sean, on one of these mountain stages that remain, then King of the Mountains jersey could well be his.
Yes, well, he is in a position where he can challenge for it if he gets into the breakaway on the big mountain days, where he can pick up, you know, major points on a number of occasions, and that's what he's got to try and do. But to take what's going here today, it's, you know, the way to do it, and then see if he's good enough to get into the breakaways and challenge for the overall mountain classification in this Giro.
Well, it's his first Giro d'Italia. Comes from a very, very good cycling family. I think we were told by the Belgian commentators that his uncle has a bike shop. And there it is, more points for him. Followed over by our friend from Europe called Davide Malacarne. Tom again just after him, so he takes a point as well. And only one classified climb remains. But that is the very, very steep Muro di Ca del Poggio. Now, Malacarne looks behind. Is this a chance to press on here?
Well, he wants to press on. We can see the way he's, you know, taken the front, and the way he came just up to Wellens as they went over the mountain classification point. He's want to push on. We can see him looking about there, but still with 45 kilometres to go, it's going to be difficult with a big breakaway, and we can see the corner here. The team cars having a problem getting around.
I thought it was just a Movistar thing then, that they just weren't having a good day or two, but Omega Pharma Quick-Step having problems as well. BMC didn't seem to bother, just nipped there. A place a little higher up the hierarchy. Of course, that hierarchy of cars is ordered before the day. It depends on where you're on general classification. Peloton a little more strung out behind. They just want to control these gaps, but they've no designs on closing down the break today. Will be a day for the break. This is how the climbing statistics are at the moment. Tim Wellens up into third place with those 3 points. He still trails, though, Arredondo in the lead. Everyone, welcome back, and if you're joining us for the first time, it is the Giro d'Italia stage 17 on our way to Vittorio Veneto. 11 minutes and 3 for a maxi breakaway today. They will arrive to the finish. No real interest behind, or no reason to be interested in chasing this one down. If you've missed out, you've missed out now. Movistar just want to control things. There's no danger to the lead of Nairo Quintana and that bright pink jersey you can see of the Maglia Rosa. Nearest man in the breakaways, Damiano Cunego, at 48 minutes and 50 seconds. All the debate over radio communications. And Tim Wellens gets rid of his. Lots of talk about what happened yesterday, and there's all sorts of rumours around this afternoon as to what the statement issued by the organisation of teams will be this evening. They have promised an organisation meeting, and they've promised a statement. They did meet before the off today, and there are a few worries that some teams were going to pull out. There was going to be a protest. Thankfully, none of that happens. Didn't really need the sport being dragged through the mud again. Well, there's a rumour going around that time may well be deducted from Nairo Quintana. We'll have to see how that goes, and whatever happens, more to talk about as we go to the mountains tomorrow. No doubt that he was absolutely splendid yesterday, though, on that final climb, showing that he is the strongest climber in the world without any real doubt. And without any real doubt, we're going through quite beautiful countryside in the region of Veneto today, on our way into Vittorio Veneto. If you're unfamiliar with the area, this is the area where all the Prosecco is produced, the hills that head down from the Dolomites and into the Venetian plains. Daily shot of Luca Paolini out the back. And this is Fran Bentoso up the front. Been through Valdobbiadene today. Started off heading down to Trento, capital of the province of Trentino. Been through Belluno province into Treviso province right now, and that's Fabio Aru. Looked like it aged about 10 years when he came across the line yesterday. So did everybody, though. It was an epic day. Again, most probably almost cliched, it's that overused a word. But it really was the correct word to describe events yesterday. Cadel Evans slipping and sliding. Can he hang on to third? Well, we'll see in the next few days. Katusha hanging on. They have two men in the break. Will it finally be their day? Alberto Losada and Edward Vogenhofer there. Man in your pictures there is Dani Moreno. Very, very close to winning a stage. And here's Domenico Pozzovivo. Gained a few hundred metres yesterday on Rigoberto Urán. I think we've quite seen the last of him in this Giro d'Italia, Pozzovivo. There's certainly, if not, as we suspect, Quintana coming into form now and looking strong, looking, as we said, probably the most gifted and best natural climber in the world. There's certainly a podium place up for grabs. Who will get it, though? What will be the result of this supposed meeting? And, of course, a weighted statement later on. That's all drama for the evening. At the minute, long live the Giro is the message, and the Giro will live long, no doubt about that. Headed inside the final 40 kilometres. This is the group a little further back. They're just going over the climb that we saw the King of the Mountains points contested on and won by Tim Wellens a few minutes back. Group on their way up to the climb. 1K to go for them. Break is well over it, and they're on their way to our next climb today. Been through Conegliano and on the way to Vittorio Veneto itself. Took its name actually in honour of the first king of Italy, Victor Emmanuel II. And the reason we're here is that we're celebrating, or commemorating, I should say, an extremely famous battle in World War I. One of the final battles of World War I, supposedly. Austro-Hungarian army holding off in this region. I think it was the late 80s, Sean, the last time we were here, wasn't it? A couple of stages. First in the morning, later in the afternoon. The Polish win on the day.
Yes, 88 was the last time we were here. Fruder winning the first half stage, and then Piasecki, the Polish rider, winning in the afternoon. And you know, back in the 80s, a lot of the big tours, they had a double stage in the day where you would have, you know, two road stages, maybe a short road stage and a time trial in the afternoon, and you could have that on a number of times. In the 80 years of 88, it was probably, you know, getting towards the end of it, but you know, if you go further back in the big tours, there was a lot of days where you had double stages.
Thankfully, I think we've moved on since those. It's certainly an improvement to get rid of those sorts of things, isn't it?
Yes, I think it was, you know, making it very, very difficult for everybody, not alone the riders, but for the personnel as well, because you're starting, you know, early in the morning, so you have to be up quite early. Then your second stage in the afternoon, you finish late. Again, you get the massage. It makes it a very, very long day for everybody. And of course, remember back in my one of my first tours, there was a double stages in the Tour de France, a number of them, and they went on strike. Actually, Bernardino was the man who called the strike, and a lot of the other well-known riders at that time, and that was pretty much the end of double stages in the Tour de France.
Of course, all the talk about people riding into us and saying, well, back in the day they used to ride, and oh, we've had a bit of a problem here. People just getting caught out as the road narrows and the pace isn't too high. Thankfully, no one on the ground. I was just saying, yeah, people riding into us this week. We had that incident in Bari, we've had all the bad weather we had yesterday, saying, well, oh, back in my day, back in the day, we used to ride in worse conditions. Of course, evolution is generally a good thing, isn't it? And the reason we change, the reason we take concern of people's health is for the good of the sport.
Yes, it's, I think it's for the good of the sport, and that's the way all sports are. You know, now you have to, you know, we're always taking into consideration the welfare of the athletes out there, and I find it sometimes difficult, people, you know, when they are not happy when the riders go on strike, like we had here. You can imagine those guys, the way they go on the final, you know, the rate they're going at and the risk they take in the good conditions. But when you get an area where the roads are very, very slippery, and they were super slippery in this Giro down south, and the riders, you know, they did talk about it, when you started braking, going straight, the bike would just go from under you. And when you have got those conditions, well, then you have to consider that, because the riders will take the risk when there's, you know, a stage victory to go for out there. There is riders like, you know, they just put the fear away and they just go for it, and, you know, the rate they can go in the final, you have always to think of safety, and I think it's very important that we always do that.
We're talking of evaluation, evolution and progression. Big thanks to Killian Kelly for writing in at Irish Peloton on Twitter. Always a good read and worth a follow. Talking about what we actually mentioned the other day in terms of the GC riders being of a general young age, and we're seeing the present and the future. I think we were talking about it yesterday with the average ages and certainly the ages of those in the top 10. Well, Killian's come up with a nice little fact. 4 Italians aged 25 or under have won a stage of this Giro. Hasn't happened all the way since 1994. Ferrigato, Bartoli, Pantani and Zanini were the winners then. So I think we're seeing that the Giro this year is showing us, like we said yesterday, a little bit of a glimpse of the present and the future, which is always exciting in any sport, never mind just cycling.
Yes, well, that is the case. We're seeing a lot of new riders coming through, and as mentioned there, the Italians, we might see the end of that today, because Cunego could win this stage later on this evening.
The little prince heading home as well to the northeast. Certainly have plenty of followers and plenty of people willing him on. So much competition, it's going to be a very exciting finish to today's stage. A little bit of a difficult climb to come. Keep it tuned to Eurosport Cycling. We'll be back in a minute. The remnants of the Venetian Empire. Lots of old, great, fantastic buildings in this part of the world. 34 Ks to go on our way to Vittorio Veneto. Superb break of 26 riders out there. 12 of them are Italians. We've had some Italian success. We've had a reason for them to find faith after so much soul searching following a bad Spring Classics campaign for them. Bardiani have been a big part of that. There's Philip Dijkman, again in the break, again giving it a go. Can't doubt the fact that he or Sky have been combative in the last few days. They're certainly giving it a real go now. Cataldo, part of that group yesterday, who pressed ahead. Again, if anybody's called into question tonight, I'm sure he will be as well. But it was another gutsy ride from him once he got onto the climb. And the Vineyards. 174 kilometres into today's stage so far. Beginning of it was downhill from San Monico through Trento. We've been through Conegliano, Valdobbiadene, on our way to Muro di Cadelpoggio. Final classified climb of the day. And is a little like a Belgian Moor. Certainly in the hilly southeast of the country. Rigoberto Urán on the left-hand side. Back in his normal kit today. I'm sure he will have enjoyed his experience in pink, and he'll be desperate to get it back. See if, where, and when he can attack over the final few days, what sort of time trial he puts in as well. Certainly not dead this year at Italia yet. even if Nairo Quintana is now the overwhelming favourite. Mallory takes it back up at the front. Quintana right at the back of that group. Nobody helping Movistar today, and there's no reason for them to do that. Expect them to ride in with this sort of gap. They'll be very, very happy about it. Already said that Cunego's no threat at 48 minutes and 50 seconds, and he's the closest to the leader. In the meantime, we'll see Quintero here. Also at the back, Luca Paolini. And Diego Lisi as well, who's been chatting to friends along the side of the route. He's had fans there. All waiting for the grand finale here. Do you think, looking at the profile at the finale of today's stage, Sean, everybody in this break waiting for that final climb, or anybody just trying to hang on? Everybody's going to have their different approaches to it.
I think with the advantage they've got, we've seen for, you know, a long time now, that the Breakaway are just rolling along and, you know, holding the advantage pretty much. We did see it went out to 11:58 there at about 60 kilometres to go, so it is coming down a bit, but, you know, nothing to worry the Breakaway of 26 riders, and they're just continuing working away at it up front, and it's going to be the interesting one now is who's going to go first in the attack. As we come to the Muro, I think some of the riders definitely have a go there and try and shake this group, break it up, the 26-man group, and it will be a very a tactical final, and we just have to wait and see. It depends as well, the riders, how they're feeling. There can be a lot of riders in the Breakaway here now starting to get tired, and it's not surprising because they have been through a very difficult Giro already. Weather conditions yesterday, you know, that's probably still affecting more some than others, and I think we will see probably the consequences of that. But and the main peloton, they are just working away, conserving Movistar, conserving the pace setting and conserving that Breakaway at that around 10-11 minutes. They've been doing that for most of the day, and that is going to be the scene for the rest of this race. I don't think we're going to see other teams really get involved. It's going to be Movistar who is going to have to control it from here on till Sunday.
Here on till Sunday. Before the action begins today, a quick look ahead at what is to come. We mentioned Rifugio Panarotta tomorrow. That is the final climb of the day. It's another mountain stage, another top category start. We start in Belluno, just up the road from here. We have a first category climb of the Passo San Pellegrino, famous in Giro history, of course, as the relaxing goes on for the minute a little further behind. Passo del Redebus is a second category climb coming 48 kilometres from the end, and then it is that final ascent all the way up. Again, around 20-kilometre climb to Rifugio Panarotta, first category climb. Not easy. We've got 15% gradient on the Passo San Pellegrino as its maximum, and on the final climb we've got a couple of sections, a maximum gradient of 14% again. A few hairpins. It's going to be another difficult day, and anybody who's having a bad day could end up losing the Giro if they're already up in a high place.
Yes, and it's a long climb as well. It's over 16 kilometres long, so it is a serious one, and when there's a mountaintop finish, it's always very explosive, and there's always riders want to attack, and if it's really aggressive racing on that climb, well, we could see some of the riders in general classification, you know, starting to slip down, and of course others making inroads into getting onto the podium. Quintana, the big question is, will he put more time into the rivals for the general classification, or will we see him, you know, maybe not as strong as we have seen him yesterday? And that's I think if we see him tomorrow, you know, putting more time into the general classification, well that's the final nail in the coffin for the overall position, and it'll be a fight for place on the podium.
Attacks time. Tom de Gent has decided to launch it early. 29.7 kilometres to go. De Gent ahead. He already has another possibility to play with in that leading group. Serge Pauwels is his teammate. De Gent has decided to go. He's been riding so hard for Rigoberto Urán so far. Why not strike out for home himself? And he's got good history in the Giro. He's done this before on an epic scale. It's taken him on to the Giro podium previously. It's not going to do the same here, as he's 2 hours, 23 minutes and 51 seconds back. But first attacks, interesting to see. Obviously felt that, of course, with another man in this break as well for Megafarm Quick Step, they could afford to play it tactically like this. Go one man here, and if that fails, then go on the final climb.
Yes, and Belgium, of course, he sees the move coming up, so he's going in the attack. They love that style of parkour, and De Gent is a specialist as well at that. And you know, he feels that if he waits maybe for the steeper part, that he's going to be in difficulty, so he's trying to get out in front, possibly hoping that there would be one or two others join him. But at this moment, get ahead, get over the steep part, and there will be definitely some riders come across. If they're not going to come across before the climb itself, well, then they will on the climb do that.
So interesting how this group reacts here. The organisation just seems to have been blown apart a bit whilst they react. Wellens is the man at the front. Remember, he wants to take more King of the Madness points, and we're getting a counter-attack. Counter-attack time from guess who? Stefano Pirazzi. Well, if you're going to put a bet on anything today, put a bet on this man attacking. You could have put your mortgage on it. And it's being followed. Pirazzi then out in front, being chased down by the Katusha rider. Tom De Gent still the man who is the leader of the race, though. Good to see Pirazzi's there. Interesting that Serge Pauwels is getting involved in the chase as well.
Well, I think he's up there. He's just covering at the moment. He's not really chasing. He's just, you know, getting in a good position, and he knows that possible more riders try to go on the attack. Of course, with Pirazzi out there is other ones who will try and get across here. So he's doing a kind of a tactical job, staying at the front and blocking a bit for the moment, and that's what they're going to try and do, because you know, when you have two men, the breakaway, as we mentioned, is always an advantage. And if it does come back, well, then, you know, we can be pretty sure that Pauwels will try and go on the next group that goes away.
One thing I think we can be sure of as well, at some point, apart from on the climb, we'll see Lars Yitting back give it a go, because he's very much like that, thinking of having a go. And here we go, Vorganov thinks, just stops himself, got himself into the right position. Now Daniel Oss decides it's time to join in. Daniel Oss, the only man for BMC. Simon Geschke says he has to chase. Geschke's going to try and keep this gap down. So, Sean, they've got more than enough time. They've got around 10 minutes just gone under. The organisation is gone, and it's all about trying to chase these two men down.
Yes, and it's, you know, it's pretty normal, the tactic. We could write that script the last 25 kilometres, 30 kilometres out from here, with the advantage they were, you know, holding on to. They're going to attack early, and you know, with 27 kilometres just a bit over, we can see De Gent out front, Pirazzi being pulled back here, and Geschke taking it up, and we can see Pauwels the one who was marking a lot.
Geschke, Pirazzi and Gatto. Jussi Väikkönen chasing them. A little further up the road is Tom De Gent. Geschke looking behind, waiting to see the race situation. Jussi Väikkönen thinks that he can go as well, and he's another man with that tactical flexibility. Johan Le Bon also, who wanted to have a go at the Spring Classics this year, actually went to Flanders, said he wanted to live like a Flandrian. Rented a house for a few months. Absolutely love that story. But Jussi Väikkönen here, having a go, and as you can see, we said the rain had started, and making the first little bits of evidence of that, the wet roads, and as you can see, the wet arms there of our rider out in front, Tom De Gent. Bardiani, the best placed team tactically, remember. 3 riders in there, all 3 of them very combative. 16 seconds for Tom De Gent, and we have another man attempting to join it in. It's Evgeny Petrov. Russian rider is already a winner of the stage on the Giro d'Italia back in 2010. Out there in the yellow of Tinkoff Saxo. They came very, very bitterly and disappointed into this race this morning after yesterday's shenanigans. They want something from the race. Tom De Gent is our leader. Another patron of the team's Pat Lefevre, very, very vocal yesterday. Certainly pulled no punches, asking no words whatsoever. Philip Dijkman's there in the black and blue of Sky, wants to follow. Geschke as well, as is Pauwels. Pirazzi giving it a go yet again. He wants the group to come back together here. Desperate for people to help him out in the chase. So 9:52 is the gap, but I think we can forget about that now. It's between all these men up the front. This is Jussi Väikkönen, Française des Jeux rider, Finnish national champion. Very, very classy jersey, no sponsor, of course. Rather like Arthur Vichot's French national champion's jersey. Petrov is just going to drill it on again. 16 seconds last time we saw for the Ghent. Strong start to his ride out the front.
Yes, well, he is riding very strong here. We can see the way he's powering it on, and his teammate is doing a good job. We could see that he was, around the front there the moment he went away and, followed a few riders, and that's what you've got to do, because if you stay in the wheel of the riders who take up the chase, they're going to, knock off their effort, and that's immediately 2 or 3 seconds before somebody else goes in the attack. And we can see their Powers is very much in the front. Forward.
Crashes. Exactly what we didn't want. The road starts to get a little wet again. We have Frapporti down, as is Le Bon, and the rider who's gone down from Katusha. Rotten luck for them at this Giro d'Italia. I have a feeling it's Vorganov. It is. Well, just as everything was starting to cook up, the pace goes up. We go into wet roads, and we start sliding again.
Yes.
It boils over, as you say. It's just been something we've seen far too often on this Giro.
Yes, and everybody was going into the corner pretty much the same rate, but again, when you're a little bit further back in the group and it slows down, you have to brake a little bit in the corner, and it slides out. And I think that was the problem. It looked like the riders that fell there, they were quite a way back in the group.
So Vorganov is going to face a big task. This is what happened, and here's how it started. Vorganov was the only man to go down. And in fact, behind, I wonder if there's been some sort of patch of oil or something there. They all seem to go down at the same point without touching each other.
Yes, well, of course, if one go down and you panic, you brake a little bit in the corner, well, then it's going to be very difficult to stay upright. And it's a normal reaction when somebody goes down. You panic a bit and you go for your brakes a little bit too heavy, and down you go.
Everybody dressed in pink. His team lost the pink as we head up to the Muro di Ca del Poggio, approaching in the next 3 kilometers. That's what it looks like on the left. 1.2 kilometers long. And the views from the top, again, quite beautiful. In a minute, we've got wet roads, we have cloudy skies, we've seen the rain come down quite heavily in the last half an hour or so. Same at the finish line. Umbrellas have been up, and this is Tom de Gendt on the right-hand side, leader of the race at the moment. Last time Checky had 16 seconds. How has that crash behind affected this group chasing on? It seemed to happen quite a way down in the bunch, didn't it?
Yes, and as I mentioned, when there are riders further back, it slows a little bit up front, and if you have to go on your braking a little bit heavy, and we could see Vorganov, he was the first one to slide out, and then immediately the 2 others, I think that was the reason, just had to brake heavy. The other guys panicking a bit, and down they go. And I suppose luckily enough that it was out on the rear end of the group, because if it had been up front, we would have seen more riders having the problem and sliding down here. And the peloton, we can see 21 seconds, so it is advantage to Thomas de Gendt, because I think this confusion has slowed things down at the moment. And back in the peloton, they'll be made aware of this as well. With the pink jersey, they will be taking it a bit easy, and there's no need for panic back there, because as we mentioned so many times during the day, this group, there's no danger man for general classification, is totally just touring along here in main peloton.
It's like a sportive out there at the minute.
We could be hanging there ourselves at this time.
Not sure about that. You might have had the form last week, I didn't. Here we go. 30 kilometres to go for them, so they're almost 8 kilometres behind. They will have been warned about the wet roads ahead. Tom de Gendt increasing at advantage by the pedal stroke. Had a very, very good time trial the other day. That was in similar wet conditions, uphill, down dale. I think the time gaps between him and those behind are going to be quite important on this next climb. See how they all cope with it.
Yes, as well, it's going to be important, first of all, for de Gendt to have an advantage that he has the moment to go onto the climb, because when you make the effort here with a group behind, if there's somebody getting a handy ride along, not contributing riding on the front, well, then they're going to be that much more pressure on this climb. But with the advantage we see, they're growing out towards 30 seconds. If you can continue to build that, well, then on the climb he should be able to get over. And it'll be, again, they'll have difficulty organising because there's going to be a number of riders together, and there's always some that do not want to contribute and work well together, so they start playing about a bit, and that will play into the advantage for De Gent.
The Muro di Cadel Poggio's on the left-hand side. Average gradient of 12.2%, a maximum of 18%, 1.2 kilometres long. De Gent now approaching the road. Certainly twisty and turny, and this is the high percentage point of it. Again, it would have been a very, very interesting watch to see if the sprinters were in a pack and we were going to have some sort of sprint at the end, who would have been able to hang on or not. But we're not going to get that today. And again, heads on to the Muro di Cadel Poggio. Plenty of fans out there braving the rain. Look at this, a pink party on the Mur. Canola chasing on behind us is Bohem and Pirazzi. Surely somebody's going to have a go at the group as well. Is De Gent on his own at the moment. Powers with the bike, fights against the gradient. What's the difference with riding the big, long, steep climbs like we saw yesterday and these short moors, Sean?
Well, I think the short moors, you can, charge into them. We can see De Gent, he's really, attacking the climb here. On the big climbs, you keep a bit in reserve, get into a rhythm, and try and feel a little bit more comfortable. But here there is no comfort. We can see here they're all attacking it, and there is going to be somebody out of this group who will go and attack. Pirazzi here pushing on, but again we could see that he is just charging in this one because it is a short climb. You have to get over as quick as possible, and he wants to maintain the advantage. If he gets over this climb with 15-20 seconds in advantage and go on, well, he is in a good position to take stage victory.
Thomas De Gent heading towards the top of the Muro di Cadel Poggio. Listen to the encouragement, look at the excitement. Wonderfully set up here today. Cycling tifosi at their best, and if Italian tifosi have a favourite, it is this man. Pazzi per Pirazzi, they say, crazy for Pirazzi, and he has enjoyed his ride in front of them every single time he's been out there in the Giro. Again, he's going it again, and this time he's on the chase, looking to try and hunt down Thomas De Gent. Remember, a maximum gradient of 18% here today. Simon Geschke climbing well as well. He's in the white and black, just going past those white markings on the road in the centre of your picture. Wellens as well. Remember, he wants King of the Mountains points. He'd have to do some overtaking to get those. Wet roads towards the top, but thankfully the sunshine is coming out again and the rain is not falling at the moment. Powering his way up. Big ring or a little ring won this?
Little ring. We see Thomas De Gent there. He was in the little ring in the area slopes, and the percentage, of course, it's just very, very high percentage, and it has to be a little ring. And we can see Pirazzi is really working at it, and both of the riders, Thomas De Gent out front, Pirazzi, they're giving it everything here just to try and keep the advantage, or possibly pull out their advantage. If they get over this one, well then you're in with the chance of staying away. But we can see here that it's Wellens who is keeping pace on the front of the group of chasers at the moment.
Group of chasers looking like this. Geschke there in the white. Wellens doing really, really well. Dragging up Oscar Gatto with him, and I'll tell you what, if it comes down to a reduced sprint, then there are a few better than Oscar Gatto. This would be a stage that he would have looked at before the Giro and thought, well, if the sprinters aren't going to get there, I'm going to get there. Tom De Gent thinking the same today. 100 metres to the top for him. King of the Mountains points looking like they're his. Only 3 of them, and I don't think that's particularly something he's going to worry about today. He wants the stage win, but look what's happening behind. Pirazzi is in attendance. He arrives at the party. Can he crown it and ride on to a stage finish with the man who's out there in front there? So De Gent over first, Pirazzi second. The Ca del Poggio is conquered. What's happening behind? The count begins, and who can hang on for a grand stage finale? Bardiani yet again, getting another man involved. Gatto comes over. Chasing them, I have a feeling, was Nicola Bohem. We shall see. There's Feline, not looking as strong as you thought he might do. Long time though still, 20 k's left for anybody to get back on here. Would require some organisation, but we're seeing a good 30-odd seconds difference. So there's Pirazzi. This is the moment that he went over the top. Past those Venetian flags. De Gent first, Pirazzi second, Gatto third. So no more points for Tim Wellens. He remains where he is in the mountains classification. Now, De Gent and Pirazzi. Good allies?
Well, I think they will have to be allies because they have to get together here. The advantage, they had plus 15, 18 seconds, so it's looking good for them.
Damiano Cunego on the chase. Conversation between Movistar and BMC. Slow down, slow down. They're coming to that point where there was a fall. And again, just pointing out the road furniture in the way, those little nasty yellow bollards that are almost hidden unless you're in the front of the bunch. Fran Ventoso there directing operations. For once, everybody in agreement. This is the situation out front. Tom De Gent and Stefano Pirazzi. 18.8 kilometres to go. 10 minutes and 47 is their advantage over the peloton. No doubt that the break is going to go home today, but which members of it? Is there going to be an organisation behind us hunt these two down? And if so, who will be there? Movistar taking their time. In conversation with Cadel Evans there, Fran Ventoso. Simon Geschke at the front of this group. Tim Wellens behind, Oscar Gatto as well. There's Evgeny Petrov. Alberto Losada, remember Voganov, who went down. Two riders from Bardiani. It looks as though almost everybody... Oh, we've had another crash. This time it's Geschke who's gone down. Quickly back on his bike, though. Slipping and sliding around. You've seen it's not just the isolated incident now.
No, it's certainly becoming a little bit more slippery as we go on here. And we could see Geschke there, you know, they're not going down at a, you know, a hugely fast rate there, but sliding out. And I think back in peloton there are concerns. We can see Movistar as we see Geschke here. He just you know, slides out very, very easily, you know, not going any faster than the other guys, but maybe on that white line a little bit, but sliding off so easily. And this will make everybody, you know, very nervous out in the breakaway, but more so back in peloton.
Oh, you see the reason now why it's slowed right down behind the gap all the way out to 11 minutes and 6 seconds again. These two, understandably, going to be taking a few more risks. They want to win the stage here. That group behind him, how much has it set them back to see Simon Geschke going down? Already second in one stage. Oh, we've had a problem. That is Oscar Gatto. Now, has he been down, or is this a mechanical? Has he just put his chain off?
Well, I think it's on the downhill. It looks like that he's at the sliding off also. Surprising if he got his chain off going downhill, because there'd be no reason to be changing from the bigger or the smaller chain ring. So it looks like another one that is sliding out.
This is the situation at the finish line. Back out to the interesting stuff on the course. 16.4 k's to go. Certainly not completely flat into the finish here. There are a couple of smallish ramps on which to attack, but no classified climbs. And again, slow down, watch where we're going, guys. He does that before dropping a gel in everybody's path. Everybody wants to stay safe and gets to a situation, whether you're Quintana or Evans or Uran, it's in everybody's interest to stay safe with those final 3 big days coming up.
Yes, I don't think there's anything to gain here by trying to push on. If it was a long descent, 10k downhill to the finish, well then I'd not be surprised if we see somebody having a go here. But in these little sections where it does go down, and you know, then it's a lot of flat section into the finish, they're not going to try anything here. But I'd be surprised if we see the opportunity on the, you know, the bigger mountain days where we could see somebody trying to, you know, go in the attack. And it's normal that Movistar are going to calm situation. They have, got the race leader, and they want to, just calm the situation on the front of peloton.
Two riders almost bridging the gap, one of which is Matteo Montaguti. He's the rider for Agi Dessert, right at the back in the white jersey and the brown shorts. And one of the Tinkoff Saxo riders. We've had Jay McCarthy and Evgeny Petrov in that group. Petrov was the man who had been attacking. We wait to get confirmation as to which of the riders is there. So Oscar Gatto, still distanced. Simon Gesk is back in this group. Jos van Enden is there as well for Belkin. Daniel Oss is doing the chasing at the front for BMC. Fabio Fellini there as well, as is Serge Pauwels. The Pauwels, of course, not going to chase with Tom de Gent out there in front. Pace not right off in the meantime behind. Luca Paolini comes up to the front. Again, one of the respected voices in the peloton. Chasing group this. Just get an indication of the huge torrential almost shower that's come through here. Hadn't been raining all day until around half an hour to an hour ago at the finish line, and it's still raining now at this point on the course. 18 seconds. So not the biggest of leads still. It's still certainly recoverable with 14 Ks to go, if there's some sort of organisation here.
Yes, well, if they continue on chasing, and we can see there, on the front of the group is Daniel Oss, who is securing quite a strong pace for a bit of time now. But out front, of course, we've seen that group has grown to 4 riders, and if they get to work together and really get down to it, well, then they should be able to build on this. And it's always a problem if you have somebody who want to sit on the rear. Well, that is going to see you really upset our 4 breakaway guys, and then they're going to start looking around. But at the moment it looks like the Gent is the one that's securing pace, but we'll have to wait and see until they settle down here and they get a bit more organised.
Oh, look at the rain coming down. Tim Wellens has made it into a 5-man group as well, and that rider from Tinkoff Saxo was in fact Jay McCarthy. .5 kilometres to go. We've seen a mechanical problem confirmed by his team. Oscar Gatto has had a problem trying to get on. So Cannondale, with just the 1 man in the break, losing their options at the minute. Gatto trying to bridge to the chasing group that is around 20 seconds back from this group at the head of the bunch. They've gone through Conigliano now, and we're on our way into Vittorio Veneto. Montaguti, Wellens, McCarthy, Pinazzi and De Gent. De Gent was the man that started it off. Pinazzi went after him, and the 3 men have just joined on. All different teams represented. A gap of 12 minutes and 11 seconds certainly means they'll make it. No question of anybody behind chasing on. They're just trying to get in safe. It's all about the stage win here. This is what's happening behind. Maglia Rosa group. Maglia Rosa covered up, at least partially at the minute as well, with the rain coming. Quintana wants to stay healthy. They themselves are coming up now, the Muro di Ca del Poggio. And it's big gradients, just a leg stretch for them today. Big mountains are to come tomorrow. 1.2 kilometres long, 18% max, an average of 12.2%. Matteo Montaguti. 2 Italians in this group of 5, 2 Belgians and an Australian. And McCarthy's the man here, pushing on at the front. He's ridden well this spring, is Jay McCarthy. Tom de Gent refining some sort of form at the Giro d'Italia. Was so strong in the time trial the other day. Just takes his glasses off, struggling to see at the minute with all the spray and rain. Montaguti comes through, and again, in terms of organisation, you suggested that may be the case, Sean, and they've listened to you. They've got organised very quickly.
Well, I think they realise that they have to get organised, and the 5 men out front, they all know if they ride on for a time, trying to pull out a good advantage here with over 10 kilometres to go, well, then they're going to go into the final and contest for stage victory. And Montaguti, of course, is the sole rider in that break from AG2 Orla Mundial. The other teams with the riders up front here, they all had more than one in the breakaway, so he's doing a good job, and Montaguti is pushing on, but it's in all their interest that they give it almost 100%. descent here, and we can see 20 seconds at the moment.
20 seconds for those out in front at the minute. We saw Jay McCarthy there, young Australian who has come in at the very last minute to replace Nikolai Trusov, who had visa issues for the Giro d'Italia. We saw Tim Wellens for Lotto Belisol, ridden really, really well. Showed good promise at under 23 level, finishing just behind Fabio Aru in the Toscana Terra event a couple of years ago. Rider to keep an eye on. Oh, and we've had attacks. Here we go. Philip Dijkman wants to try and bridge it himself. Not confident that the others are doing a good enough job. And Serge Pauwels is going to cover this now. If Pauwels makes it up to the group, then advantage goes to a Megaformer Quick-Step without doubt.
Yes, and you know, Dijkman, he sees that it's getting a bit scrappy, unorganised here in the chasing group, and when you see that, well, then they're going to start attacking each other, and Philip Dijkman is the one from Team Sky doing that. But we see Wellens is, you know, doing a really good job. He has been doing it right from the moment Thomas de Gent went in the attack, and be surprised if they'd be able to come across this gap, because Dijkman is going to have to do it all on his own. Powers is just going to sit on there and get an easy ride.
Nairo Quintana having an easy ride today. Had a chance to enjoy his first day in pink. He's even having a chat there on the steep gradients with Luca Paolini. Fran Bentosa's just going to pace them up. Sprinter turn road captain here. Il Muro di Ca del Poggio. They've put a great effort in. Local village. Local branding all over the place. It looks like everybody's had the day off work. Plenty of Prosecco consumed. And lots of louder cheers as a result. This is that chasing group then. It's all chased down Philip Dijkman and Serge Pauwels. Behind is Lars Yitting back as well. This is Montaguti. Experienced Italian rider. He's ridden for a French team for quite a while now. Usher Desert man pushing it on. 20 seconds at the last count for these. Larger group behind. Almost 13 minutes on the chasing peloton. I say chasing, they're not really chasing all day today. Top of the Muro di Ca del Poggio then. Those are those Venetian flags. The orange, red and yellow, quite traditional looking things that are being flown. And everything calm still reigns, really. Not a problem, no great pace needed for the peloton there, just enough to keep it safe. 10 kilometers to go. 5 riders out in the front. Montaguti is there, Pirazzi is there, as is Wellens. McCarthy, only 15 seconds now alongside Tom de Gent. It just shows that those accelerations from Dijkman and the rest are doing their job.
It's working back here. We can see here they're you know, putting in an attack, but they're also, you know, knocking it off here, and we can see that's where they're going to lose 2 or 3 seconds at the time. And it's Dijkman who just takes up the chase again, and you know, they've got to do it now, because if you get to the 15 seconds mark, it is possible to get across. If they can, you know, 2 riders get out of this group, work well together, they could make it across to 5 leaders.
Well, they're realizing that they have to chase this move down. Chasing group goes. The man chasing is Nicolas Bohem, chasing after Johan Le Bon, French rider for Française des Jeux, who went. Dijkman went with him. And of course, is that advantage with just 15 seconds, then it may not well be long at all before they make this bridge. Nicolas Bohem in 3rd place, racing on Venetian roads, which is his home area. McCarthy in the yellow and blue, Montaguti in the white, the Italian for the French team. Here's Wellens, and Tom de Gent is with them as well. De Gent, the Belgian, just coming up behind the man in the black and white. Dijkman still pulling it out. Le Bon behind him. Don't expect Nicolas Bohem to do any work there. Certainly not with Stefano Pirazzi up in front. He'll just hang on, and if he's going to be towed up to the front, he won't mind that at all. Alberto Losada in the meantime, and Simon Geske, well, that advantage changing again. 23 seconds now, it's all over the place.
Yes, and they are all over the place. We can see here the group, it's just, you know, splitting all the time. 2-3 riders going off the front, and then they've been chased down, so it's not surprising the gap is changing.
.2 kilometres to go. A stage that is up for grabs for any sort of rider who wants it. It's all about desire today. It's all about finding the right move. Sean Kelly, is this the right move? 5 leaders with about 23 seconds of an advantage.
Well, it looks like it is. We have seen a number of efforts to get across here, and they're attacking each other. We can see here the group again, they're slowing down now, and this advantage is going to go out again, 2 or 3 seconds each time, and then when they up the pace, somebody go on the attack, they close it down that bit. But we can see up front our 5 are working well together, 20 seconds advantage at the moment, and when you continue on working regularly with the 5, I think it looks like with 7.7 kilometres to go, it should be these 5 fighted out for the stage win.
Fabio Felline is the latest to go for Trek Factory Racing. Almost everybody in that chasing group behind us tried at some point to bridge the gap. Can the Italian manage it? Felline has been at Android Giocattoli. I think he was back with the Futon Cerveto lot back in the day as well. Felline now with Trek Factory Racing, being given a go. Can he do it? Got to bridge the gap first, though. Serge Powell's here. Oh, he's going to chase on, as will Bohem again. Of course, these guys are just going to try and hang on behind, and then if they get in front of this group, their job surely is to do a bit of spoiling, isn't it? Because they've got teammates up front.
Yes, well, that is the situation. Anybody who've got a teammate up front that just want to, stay around the front here when there's an attack, try and go in the wheel of the rider who attack, and he's going to ride for a bit. But when you have somebody like that, and again we can see it's just attack after attack here, and back to our 5 leaders, they're still just contributing, and they all know that they have to keep on working until the very final here. They get inside the final 2-3 kilometres maybe, and then see what advantage you've got.
Well, the only man with a teammate up front who's been given a licence to attack is the man riding on home roads, Nicola Bohem. And if he doesn't have that licence from his directeur sportif, as Sean mentioned earlier on and yesterday, he might just take that earpiece out, because Bohem wants to be involved as a man from the Veneto. Montaguti, Wellens, McCarthy, Pirazzi, who's Bohem's teammate, and the Ghent are up there. The last time check was 20 seconds. Kilometres to go, down to 6.4. There's the Australian McCarthy, so good at under 23 level. Wellens behind him. Another gifted rider. There's Bohem on the heels of the Trek Factory Racing rider, Fabio Felline. Well, Felline seems to have made a better fist than most, Sean, of getting out in front and trying to make the bridge.
Yes, he is holding off well, as we can see here again. They're just attacking each other, and it's going to be the problem here. They're not going to get organised, and 4 or 5 guys start riding together in this chasing group here, the big part of the group, and the riders. Felline, we see that he's holding off, but I think this advantage is going to be more than we've seen in the last time check we got.
Wellens, the Flandrian. Pirazzi, the man from just outside of Rome. McCarthy, Maryborough, Queensland. Maguti from northern Italy. And against yet another Flandrian. 21 seconds. 5.5 kilometres to go. And in the group up front, well, they too have got to stay organised. They too must keep coming through and doing their turns. Nicola Bohem, local boy from the Veneto, alongside Fabio Felline, another Italian. These two trying to make the chase, find themselves between the main chasing group and those 5 out in the front. And of course behind, you saw the peloton just taking their time. Montaguti, Pirazzi, Wellens against McCarthy. 14 minutes and 8 seconds now on those behind. Wellens pulls off, McCarthy come through. Look behind from Pirazzi. Montaguti, the man doing the big turn here. And this is Nicola Bohem, just on the wheel of Fabio Felline.
We'll just see a moment ago when he was on his radio back to Team Car. Can I ride here? Am I allowed to ride with Felline? And I don't think it's been the case. We can see he's just, stayed on the wheel of Felline here. And, Felline would be a one if he get back up to this group. I think for the sprint as well, he would be a pretty fast one, but regrouping once again.
Bardiani playing this fairly well at the minute. First chasing group 25 seconds away now. as well as Bohem, they managed to get Marco Canola up there, so if it does reach the front, then they won't be too disappointed about it. This is Wellens. So in the end, he did shove that earpiece back in. De Gent, man in yellow, rides through McCarthy. Montaguti in white. Jos van Enden, who's having to do the ride on this chasing group now. Dutchman riding for Belkin. It's Fabio Fellini is attempting to keep it going, but running out of energy. That latest attack, even though it looked okay for Fellini at a stage, isn't looking good now. It's looking very, very good for these guys, though.
Yes, I think it's going to be down to our 5 here. And, you know, we did see the advantage there. It's growing out. And for one rider to get across, it was always going to be a big ask, unless you have 2 riders who can get out and are prepared to really ride immediately together. And you have to be, you know, very, very strong as well. A lot of energy left, and that hasn't been the case. And it's between those 5 for the stage victory.
It was a real fight to get in the break today. Almost 2 hours for a breakaway to go. A stage of 200 kilometers plus 208 to be precise. Vittorio Veneto, the day after so many problems at the Giro d'Italia. It's finally nice to get down to actual racing after all of the worrying and talking overnight. We have 5 men out there in a break that will get there. They've been chased down around almost half a minute back, but with 3 Ks to go, it looks like it will be between Wellens, Montaguti, McCarthy, Pinazzi and De Gent. They've all got to stay together. Sean, is this where the attacks begin? Where do they begin and where can they begin?
Well, I think they have to continue riding, although they're getting to the point now where they can start playing about a bit. They started already. We could see they looked around at each other, and then they, you know, decided to roll on again. But I think the advantage they have, they should not have a problem unless they do track stands here in the very end. And it looks, you know, that they're going to go into contest this stage victory, and it's a technical final as well. Inside the last kilometre, it goes left and left. And the final 250, the final 500 metres, they're just another corner, and it is a dangerous one because we must remember the road is wet, so they have to be careful here on this final run-in.
Looks as though the rain's on its way again, as finally the roads have dried out a little since our last look at things at the finish line. We saw the first big attack there from Pinazzi. Looking at this group, it's hard to really pick who is the best sprinter because it's not exactly a group of people who are used to contesting things at the end. As we saw the other day, Sean, it might just come down to pure desire and decent tactics here.
Well, I think the tactic is going to be important, but sometimes, you know, we see an attack and then it comes back together and a rider just roars off the front, like Montaguti, for example, but it's not going to be the case for him. And it's just a lucky moment that you go in the attack, the others hesitate for a while, look at each other, and you get a gap. But it looks like that all 5 are marking each other well. Who is going to be the fastest? That is going to be Pinazzi, of course, wouldn't be very fast in the sprint, but you know, Thomas De Gent and McCarthy, I don't know his sprinting abilities, and very difficult to see who's going to win. And position is going to be very important into the final, 500 metres.
Pinazzi, De Gent, Montaguti, Wellens and McCarthy. 2 Italians, 2 Belgians and an Australian. 5 different teams represented. One of them with already 2 stage wins at this Giro d'Italia. That is Bardiani, the local pro-continental team. They come away with another one here. It will have been an exceptional Giro for them. It's already been a pretty special one. Approaching the final kilometre, and Pinazzi has a go from a way out. It's a strong attack, but they're surely going to chase it down. Montaguti attempt, but Pinazzi is gaining by the pedal stroke here. It's a big one from the man with a big heart. He's going to take the Flamme Rouge. The question is now, will they get organised to catch him?
Well, we can see here Montaguti on the front is just rolling along, keeping a pace but not giving it 100%, and they're starting to look at each other, and Pinazzi has a nice advantage at the moment.
Stefano Pinazzi, who's tried so many times before. King of the Mountains last year on the Giro d'Italia. Wellens in the red trying to chase him. 700 metres for Stefano Pinazzi, the man from just outside of Rome, Frosinone province. He involved in that big crash when we went to Monte Cassino. That was the stage he was targeting. Can he get revenge on luck and the elements here? It's slightly uphill as he goes around the corner here. One more corner to take to the left. De Gent is chasing in the black and white. There is that corner. Pinazzi disappears round it. There is De Gent, then McCarthy. Wellens is there as well, as is Montaguti. Pinazzi looks behind, but there's no time to look behind. 4.5 hours of racing, Pirazzi of Bardiani, and they're on for number 3 at the minute. They've got to chase now. There's got to be some sort of sprint. Pirazzi goes, pink flags wave everywhere, but the chase is on from behind here. Can he keep it going? Pirazzi with 50 minutes to go, looks behind, looks up, shoves his arm into the air, and it's number 3. Yes, 3 for Bardiani, Stefano Pirazzi, and I don't think, Sean Kelly, you will find a more popular winner on the Giro d'Italia.
No, and I think he went about it the hard way. That attack, it was a really strong attack. We could see Monteguti, you know, just give an effort and then continue right in the front, and then Thomas again taking it up, but Pirazzi was super strong in that final kilometre.
Win number 1 as a pro, as Jussi Väikkönen wins the sprint for the places. He knows he hasn't won there, decides to celebrate winning the sprint. Stefano Pirazzi, he's tried so many times. He won as a semi-pro and an amateur millionaires race in Montapone. He won the Tour of Lérida in Catalonia, or the Volta Lleida, and of course the Tour of the Regions under 23 race. But this Giro d'Italia stage, we always thought it'd be up a hill somewhere. This time he went on the hill, he made the junction, and that is a very, very special win. We said might not just be about the sprint. There he went. They were all looking at each other, chose the perfect moment, had a little bit of luck as well, as there was no organisation behind, and what a ride.
Yes, what a ride, and it was a real powerful attack. Monteguti did give a big effort to try and get onto his wheel immediately, but he realised that he was, you know, going at a very, very fast pace, and then just knocked it off a bit, started looking around, and then they had the advantage, and of course Thomas again taking it up, but far too late.
So on another day, they were all pazzi per Pirazzi, crazy for Pirazzi. That's the slogan of the big fan club. I can tell you, whether they were there in person or watching on the telly, that is the sight they've always dreamed of seeing. Bardiani with number 3, and his team performances go, certainly at the level at which they're at, Pro Continental, all Italian riders, relatively small budget. There it is, and well, to those doubters, that was his message. A very, very special one indeed.
Yes, well, there was a message there to who we'll find out a bit later. But yeah, Bardiani, what a stage victory for Pirazzi, for Bardiani. Once again, 3 stage victories in this race is just turning into a dream race for them.
Oh yeah, I'm not quite sure about the gesture over the line there. Again, somebody's upset him somewhere. Maybe to all those attacks that he put in down the years that didn't pull off. Oh, and look at that. What a sight. Look at how much it means to him. And again, we certainly weren't building this up to be something it wasn't when we said there will not be a more popular rider. He has legions of fans. He's a rider who is loved for his effort. He knows he's not the greatest rider in the world, but just one of those guys, as he finishes here, who always gives his all. Pirazzi from Wellens, McCarthy to Ghent, Monteguti, then 28 seconds later, Väikkönen, Geske, Feline, Canola and Serge Pauwels making up the top 10. Well, this is the moment that Jussi Väikkönen came over winning the sprint. Somebody tell me that they were speaking to him in the ear. I think it's a bit of a shared joke, that, isn't it, surely? This is the real emotion, though. Tears streaming down the eyes of Stefano Pirazzi. And with every single win we've seen from Bardiani this week, they've been so happy. What a moment. Lost for words. Stefano Pirazzi trying to articulate his feelings to the national television. Sean, it just shows what a special sport this is sometimes.
Yes, well, you know, the ones who never give up, and certainly Pirazzi is one of those guys, and it was amazing there as he came over the line and gave the signal. I think he's a very popular rider with supporters, with his tifosi certainly, but you know, from supporters all around the world. I think his style of racing, it is magnificent the way he goes in the attack, but when he gets into a breakaway he just climbs in these sudden accelerations. I think a lot of the riders just hate him for that reason, and we'll have to wait a bit later to see what that signal was about. But certainly, he did a great job today. And I suppose when on the Muro, when we had Thomas de Gent in front, he has a big advantage. Perazzi goes in the attack and comes across very, very strongly. That was an indicator that he was very, very powerful. And that attack in the end was a real big one.
It was a huge one, a huge attack. Just seemed to snap the elastic straight away. So further behind, we've still got the race on in terms of general classification. Don't expect any gaps today. But Asher Dessert riding on the front with Patrick Gretsch here. And the joy and the tears of joy turn to now just realisation and a smile. And he goes to say hello to Luca Papini, who's there on the left-hand side. Valentina and everybody with the press. Dan Lloyd will be waiting to speak to him as well. What a day. And one to remember for the rest of his life. Goes to chat down to Andrea De Luca as well from national television. It looks as though we might be almost ready to hear from him. It'd be great to hear how he can put that special day into words. A few drops of rain around. And I wonder, as pace is going to go up here, surely not going to see any speeds at the end. Asher Dessert perhaps having a try for it.
Well, it would be surprising to see any risks being taken by the peloton. They have taken nil risk all day. I'd be major surprised if they do it in the end. And we have seen that the way Movistar has been controlling the situation, although it's AG2 Mondial who has, secured the pace, but I don't think they will, go at a rate in the final where anybody will, get themselves into any dangers or take any major risk.
I'm not expected. 6 minutes and 16, the clock is ticking. Tim Wellens there, riding back. Good ride from him today.
Doing a rerun.
Where did it go wrong? Well, his prize at least is being able to watch his teammates come in when he's had a shower already on the bus and watching the telly. If he's quick enough. Arashiro is up there for Europe Car. Pierre Long wants to be at the front as well. It's just a case of everybody staying safe, and if something were to happen, then they'd be out the way. This gap was up at around 14 minutes when they crossed the line. Gretsch third wheel now. Montaguti losing out for them. Again, a strong ride from Asher Dessert. Evans on the right-hand side. Paolini there as well. With Russian flag helmet and big beard. Arashiro we saw. Fabio Aru as well, well positioned. And the Movistar team with the race leader, there he is, Nairo Quintana. Just to the left of him, the man who was in pink yesterday, Rigoberto Urán. From two different provinces, a lot of local rivalry as well. Here's the winner though, Stefano Pirazzi.
For you. When it came down to a group of 5 riders, what did you think as to your chances as a non-sprinter of stage victory?
Sì, sapevo che con quei 5 noi 5 potevamo andare all'arrivo.
Between the first 5 it was going to be difficult and we weren't going to get down together to the end. I knew I had no chance against them.
An incredible race for your team. Una cosa incredibile per il squadra Bardiani, 3 vittorie in tappa.
Sì, siamo dei giovani ragazzi, però siamo tutti dei talenti.
Of course, we're all young guys at Bardiani, and we've done a great Giro so far. And the team's doing a fantastic job. We're all very, very good riders, and I think we can be very proud of ourselves. So a moment of composure there from Stefano Pirazzi. Nice reaction to see, as we're going to see Vorganov, the victim of that slide off and crash, come over 8 minutes and 43 inside the last 100 meters. He can enjoy himself in front of the crowd for a bit, but again, another word on Bardiani, Sean, before we see the peloton come over. What a Giro for them.
Yes, well, it's turning out to be just an unbelievable race for them, and to get 3 stage victories for a team that get into this race with a wild card, it's amazing. And as we've talked about, when you get your first victory as a continental team, continental pro, invited into the race, the pressure's off, and then sometimes it just works amazingly for the team. And for Bardiani, that has been the case. Like, it is just the dream has continued on, and for Perazzi to win, you know, if you went to the bookies, you'd got a huge, you know, odds that he couldn't win on a flatter stage like today. It would be more of a mountain stage, and here we are. It's all about, you know, you have to keep on trying and just try your luck.
Vittorio Veneto, famous for yet another stage finish of the Giro d'Italia. Almost 20 years, or more than 20 years, pardon me, since we've been here, almost 30 years. Stefano Pirazzi finally wins a stage on the Giro and has made somebody somewhere very, very rich who took a bet. Huge odds on it today. Vittorio Veneto in all its glory there. Talked about the old Venetian architecture. Many old houses still standing tall. Agi Dessert, of course, remember they're in charge on the team classification as well, so they'll want to keep the time down as far as possible for that. One possible explanation to see them riding on the front as they come in. 10.5 minutes down at the minute. Columbia riders at the front. Agi Dessert just asking what's going on there. What are you doing? We don't need this. We have to remember as well, a couple of the Mega Pharma Quick Step riders finishing above the Agi Dessert team. So again, perhaps just looking at things for the team classification, that's the explanation we can find perhaps for them riding close to the front, as well as keeping Domenico Pozzovivo safe.
Well, I think the team classification, with AG2 Mondial, you know, leading by so much, it's going to be a little bit of an advantage for, you know, like Omega Pharma up there, because with the two riders, but again, that advantage, you know, 36 minutes in the general classification is huge, and it's going to change a lot on the next couple of days as well. And AG2 or Le Mondial, they have the team which is very, very strong. Team-wise, we did see them yesterday, and I think we're going to go on, and I cannot see anybody, you know, taking that classification from them. We did talk about Movistar, but they are concerned about, you know, controlling the race leader, Nero Quintana, so they're not going to be involved in that. So they're just, you know, setting a pace here, but there's not any panic, because they would have taken it up much further out if that was the case.
Gretsch is there. It's the same controlled situation. Kisielowski being brought up to the front on the left-hand side for Trek. Danilo Honda doing his job. Now the oldest man in the race, after we lost Alijet Petaki yesterday. Local supporters all decked out in pink. 12 minutes and 38 ticks on. Arashiro, the latest to take over at the front. Kenny de Haas right at the back. Calmed down after his accusations of a circus yesterday at the organiser. Sébastien Chavanel as well there. Must be nice to have a leg loosen after the last couple of calm hours behind. It was a frantic start to today's stage. 2Ks to go for the group. Group riding in, almost quarter of an hour back. Will be that in the end. Garmin on the right-hand side. Just want to make sure they get those rain jackets off and show the numbers when they come across. Otherwise it might well be an expensive afternoon out on the bike. In terms of Swiss francs anyway. But after yesterday, will the commissaires dare find anybody? That's the question. We saw two Movistar directors sportifs getting slapped with 200 Swiss franc fines yesterday. Not quite clear for exactly the reason. Rafael Maika in the white jersey, but remember that's no longer his for Tinkoff Saxo. Just looking after it for Nairo Quintana, who's decked out in pink. But today's all been about Stefano Pirazzi. We knew the day would come when he'd win a Giro stage. We certainly didn't think it would be on a day such as today. Again, with all the big riders you would see in the classics days, the likes of Koenig or Geskia, people like that, Gasparotto, none of them got into the winning move in the end. Well, a shout there from Danilo Hondo. He wanted the speed to be upped here as they come into the corner. Just wants to keep it safe for everybody. Shouting wide and go, the Megaformer quick-step rider who was in front of him, Ilio Keisa. Uran on the right-hand side. And of course, Hondo knows a thing or two about positioning pelotons and trains inside the last few hundred meters of a race. Megaformer quick-step just going to pull it on the front. I wonder if they can get a second out. Certainly worth a try. But the main objective here is to keep it safe. All the GC men need to make sure they just come in at the same time. Quintana on the right-hand side in the pink, doing just that with 100 meters to go. No splits in the peloton in the end. So as we expected, same time for those coming across. Rigoberto Urán is scored at home by Ilio Keisa. And the crowd finally sees the group come in. But today was all about Stefano Pirazzi, a special ride. In the meantime, Nairo Quintana, Sean, will be happy just to have got another day out the way.
Yes, well, he will be happy with today because it was a stage where, you know, you could have had difficulty if the weather conditions was really bad conditions throughout the day. We could have seen some splits, and he, you know, every day that he gets over now, and he will be happy. And with the position he's in, you know, a good grip on the leadership. But I think we will see him, you know, advancing there in some of these very difficult mountaintop finishes we have to come.
Well, we've got all the back scene stuff to come out later on, the results of that meeting, the promise statement. We will bring you all that news tomorrow. These are the stage results on stage 17. Stefano Pirazzi winning ahead of Tim Wellens, Jay McCarthy, Tom de Kent and Matteo Montaguti. They were the five that came to the last kilometre together. 28 seconds back, you had Jussi Väikkönen winning the sprint from the group chasing home. And this was a special moment for a very, very special rider. Stefano Pirazzi, and he will be guaranteed some column inches in tomorrow's Gazzetta dello Sport, no doubt about that. Rides into the middle, finally realises that that's his moment, arms in the air, and hopefully, Sean, we'll find out about that little nasty gesture at the end.
Yes, well, we will certainly read about that in the columns of the Gazzetta dello Sport. We will read on it.
Even the press people were waiting for that to happen. The organisers, they all wanted Pirazzi to win. He's that sort of popular figure. So win from the man from Frosinone, near Rome. You can see the national press and local television get ready to put the stage on trial. Nairo Quintana still in the pink jersey, his lead of 1 minute and 41 over Rigoberto Urán. Cadel Evans on the podium for now, but plenty of challenges. Roland, Maika, Aru, Pozzovivo and the rest. That's how the Giro stands. Quintana, the leader. So a lot of scope for things to change again over the next few days. This top 10 certainly going to look a little different over the next few days. You feel somebody's going to lose out and you'll have winners as well.